We are counting down to the end of the year. In just 2 days, it's going to be 2022. Compliments of the season, everyone. There are quite a number of things to expect in the new year. The federal government plan to remove subsidies trending, and organized labor is also set for yet another showdown. 2022 is a pre-election year, so expect a lot of politicking and the attendant impact on polity and the economy. But today on the show, we're turning our attention to a transport policy that is expected to come into effect on the first day of the new year. The Lagos State government appears to be set now to enforce the no test, no roadworthiness policy, no roadworthiness permit for the over 3 million vehicles and 300,000 commercial vehicles in the state. And to discuss this policy is the Director of the State's Vehicle Inspection Service, Engineer Akin-George Fashola. Compliments of the season and good morning to you.
Good morning. Compliment of the season to you too.
So let's get to the meat of it. What has the process of getting a roadworthiness certificate been before now?
Well, the process has been so because of the busy nature and the hustle and bustle of Lagos State and its citizens. So we usually issue it in proxy and believing that you will come within the 30-day period to get your vehicles tested. What we have discovered is once the citizens get a hold of the roadworthiness certificate, they don't even bother coming for the test.
None of them show up, or a percentage do not show up?
The percentage that shows up is not comparable to what we are expecting. It's less than 10%. And those numbers just don't justify the kind of investment Mr. Governor has made in terms of roadworthiness certification. The Lagos State has invested financial resources and manpower. We have over 25 centers that are littered across the state, and more is coming. So we have to do that part of the job to make sure it complements the number of road constructions, road rehabilitations that are going on currently in the state. You will attest to that. Lagos State is a construction zone for the most part. And getting your vehicle tested will also add to the measures in which to bring traffic congestions down.
So what you're saying is, prior to this time, people who have the roadworthiness certificate haven't had their vehicles tested?
No, what I'm saying is the percentage that have their vehicles tested is low.
Okay, compared to those who get the certificate. All right, so how does this new policy work precisely?
Okay, it's no different from what is currently available. When your roadworthiness certificate for your vehicle expires, you apply to get a new one. Well, we will no longer issue you a certificate unless you bring the vehicle for testing. We will give you a referral to any of the stations that you want to go to, and you have 30 days within which to comply with that measure. If you want to do it there on the spot, it's a 10-minute job for private citizens, that were not commercial vehicles, private cars. The 10-minute job, get it done. If you pass, you get a certificate of roadworthiness. If you don't pass, we'll tell you what to go and fix. You take your vehicle away and go and fix it. You have 30 days, a 30-day window in which to get the fix done and come back for testing.
Within that 30 days, no penalty applies?
No penalty applies.
So how are they identified by your men on the roads?
Well, Lagos State government, again, like I said before, has invested in a lot of technology to afford us that capacity to deal with that. So we have AMPR, we have TMS, and we have other devices that, officers don't really need to ask for your documentation. It is all done through the plate number of the vehicle. So I can key it at any time, at any instant. It's a live system. You can tell me whether your vehicle has a valid roadworthiness certificate, whether you have tested the vehicle or not.
But when my roadworthiness certificate expires now, I have to appear in person at your office?
When I say appear in person, I don't mean literally you.
Okay.
I mean, if you don't have a driver, yes, you have to bring the vehicle yourself.
I'm just trying to say you can't do it virtually.
No,
or
you
online.
can't. You can book. You know, we've given that process to book the test,
Okay.
but you still physically need to come in.
All right. So what exactly are you looking for when you get this test done?
Okay. So there are many standards that you need to meet in order for your vehicle to be roadworthy. One is the emissions that your vehicle is spewing out. So we test for your tires, we test for your brake capacity, we test for your steering capacity, we test for the shocks, we test that your headlight is aiming in the right direction and not trying to blind somebody.
Okay.
We test that your wipers, your indicators are working, your windshield is not cracked, your tail lights are working. Those are critical elements.
I have a lot running on my mind right now. I'm just wondering how many cars in Lagos will pass the test.
Well, you know what? It's a start. Okay. Those are the requirements that are laid down by law in which you have to pass to.
But how do you do this within 10 and 15 minutes?
It's a simple thing. Most of the heavy lifting is done by equipment. Okay, so we've computerized all the systems. Usually, in time past, it was done manually. But now, you know, with the Lagos State Computerized Vehicle Testing Services, we have automated most of the necessary ones, like your emissions, like the brake test, like the suspension, the steering. Those are all performed on a machine, and it's computer controlled. So it takes 10 minutes.
So I've had the privilege to speak with a couple of people who have had their cars, go through this process. I understand that you have that initial 30-day validity period when you show interest to, get a certificate.
Yeah.
So when you return, perhaps I brought my car to your center and then I'm asked to go fix certain things. I believe that there's a second check to be sure that all that I'm asked or required to do have been done.
We revalidate, yes.
So in that process of revalidation, if there is a need to do another thing again on the car, does that extend that validation period?
No, it does not. Well, whatever it is, okay, so let me put it in simple terms. So from the time you apply for roadworthiness certificate, you have a 30-day window in which you need to come for the test. If you come and we test you from that date of test, that is, if you fail, we'll give you another 30 days to go and do whatever it is you need to do to correct the errors that are within your vehicle. After that 30-day window, then the roadworthiness is no longer valid.
And this policy becomes effective when your current certificate expires?
Yes. In a nutshell, it becomes effective January 1st.
Yes.
But in practicality, it comes into effect when your current roadworthiness expires. If it expires in February, if it expires in March, April, May, or wherever, that is when it comes effective for the individual vehicle owner. But the policy itself comes online January 1st.
How much do you pay for this test to be done?
The fee of the test is included in the price of the roadworthiness certificate.
So you don't pay anything extra?
No, it's not no extra, even for the revalidation, provided that you meet the 30-day period. There is no extra cost.
How much is this certificate again?
I can't give you a specific because it's different for each vehicle. They're categorized by engine size. And so they're varying prices.
Now let's get to the reality of this. So it sounds beautiful. Like, okay, so if you're going to get a roadworthiness certificate, you should have your car tested. That's the essence of that certificate in the first place.
Yes.
But let's look at the volume of cars in Lagos.
Okay.
Over 3 million. We have over 300,000 commercial vehicles. But let me begin by asking, do you even have a database based on those who have passed through your system to have an idea of the figures that we're dealing with right now?
Absolutely. All valid registered vehicle in Lagos State are on a database.
Okay.
I can call it up at any time. Officers can call it up and anytime they want.
What's the estimated figure?
To be honest, I don't want to guess. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't keep those kind of figures in my head.
All right. So
it's not necessary when the system is there to give it to me at any time.
The reason why I consider it necessary is, there's an expectation of a surge if prior to this time, if you mentioned earlier that less than 10% actually come for the test.
Yes, absolutely.
And I'm told that you have just about 26 centers in Lagos.
Yes.
And we're looking at over 3 million vehicles.
Yes.
See, Lagos is already jammed already. I mean, with the traffic, there's a waste of man hours, there's terrible waste of life in this state.
Yes.
And then I foresee that there's going to be an endless queue. Do you?
That's a speculation. I don't necessarily agree with you for a couple of reasons. One, all documents for every vehicle doesn't expire at the same time. Okay, so they are staged, they are staggered. Because I don't expect the entire numbers of vehicles to come at the same time. We can and we will meet capacity and we will ramp up if we need to. But first we need to start. I can sit here and speculate for you all day, but until we actually put in practicality, then you will know the reality of what is on ground. But until then, I have a faint picture in my head of where we're going, and I think the capacity is there. If I need to ramp it up, and we'll make that decision when it comes to that.
10 to 15.
And also, for the commercial ones, we have mobile testing centers that we will put in effect because, like you said, there are a lot of them, and they contribute to the movement of citizens around the state on a daily basis. So I'm not fully oblivious to the fact that I can't ground all of them. So we have formulated strategies in which to accommodate them at their various parks and garages. So that is in effect as well.
I listened to your test earlier, and I'm wondering how many of our commercial vehicles can actually pass that test. Are you ready for that shock? I mean, what are your plans? Do you intend to ground them?
No, absolutely no. We're not grounding anybody. It's not my job to ground anybody. I don't even have the capacity to ground anybody. There's nowhere to store them. You want to do it as a corrective measure. Okay, so if we bring practical in terms of commercial vehicle, the scenario is that if you look at them on the surface, they look like they can't pass. But for the most part, we have agreed to a minimum safety standard within the state, and you must fall in that minimum safety standards to be able to even apply the roads. We will enforce that rigorously. But obviously there are some certain criteria that will not necessarily come into play in that aspect. What we are particular about is safety and not jeopardizing people's lives on the road. You agree with me, a lot of times commercial vehicles, maybe when they're moving on the road, you look at them and the body of the vehicle looks somehow. Well, I'm not looking for Rolls-Royce level of compliance here. I'm looking for compliance that meets, like I said, the state's minimum requirements.
And I hope that you're also putting your own vehicles to test, because just this morning I was passing by the Dubega, and I saw a VIS car. I mean, I'm no professional, but the body doesn't look roadworthy to me.
That's a very good point. And no vehicle is exempt. We do rigorous testing and repairs on vehicle inspection, vehicles itself. So, but you must agree also, and we do take this into consideration, a car is a car is a car any day. It's a mechanical item. It can fail at any given point. So it is that failure rate that we want to reduce, not necessarily how the body looks. If the body is good enough to go on the road, we take that into consideration as well.
So you mentioned that there are mobile alternatives for commercial vehicles. What about articulated vehicles, trailers? Well,
I place them in the same category.
Okay.
The trailers in particular, we're very adamant about. So some of the measures that we will take into consideration is, or not take into consideration, that we are going to implement the trailer parks, entry points within the various states. We will go there and man those places physically, so as to avoid the kinds of issues we've seen over the past couple of days and months, so to speak. Even as I speak this morning, a trailer just fell over at VGC. There was a horrible accident at Independence Tunnel. Was it yesterday or the day before yesterday? And those are some of the things that we're talking about. And that vehicle did not need to be on the road. So those are some of the things that we will mitigate.
How does this policy affect motorists who do not reside in Lagos?
Okay, so it's the same thing. Motorists that don't reside in Lagos, wherever it is that they reside, they have to comply with state rules and regulations, which is you obtain your...
As long as they have the certificate?
As long as they have the certificate, I don't have a problem, or we don't have a problem with that. We will physically enforce for that one. For Lagos State residents, we have AMPR, the cameras. So you pass in front of the cameras and you don't have a roadworthiness certificate, or you haven't done the testing within the stipulated time, it'll issue you a fine. The fine is 20,000 naira. It is within the law. So in order to avoid that, how much is the test? The test is, I mean, the roadworthiness certificate itself is, for most cars, is average, maybe 4,000 or 5,000 naira. I don't know what it is, compared to a 20,000 naira fine. I mean, come on, the difference is huge.
20,000, in my opinion, is huge considering the minimum wage, but that's a matter of the law.
But that's it's not necessarily the money. It is to detract people from not doing what they're supposed to do.
So that's the thing. Why not give a warning first before penalizing? Because you mentioned that it's supposed to be corrective, but that's not the situation.
Okay, so
the moment you are caught erring, you are fined. Okay, so
here,
that's not corrective.
Okay, so this will be the corrective measure. I'm giving you 30 days to comply. That's a corrective measure.
Are you saying that if I'm stopped on the road and I do not have a certificate, do I have the period of 30 days grace?
No, see, that's what I'm saying. You're not understanding me. We are going to limit the amount of stoppage we're doing on the road. So I'm not going to be stopping, or officers are not going to be stopping vehicles. Oh yeah, you don't have roadworthiness. No. So what we do now, or the new enforcement procedure now, is you pass, the officers have their gadgets. As you're approaching, it can tell them that this vehicle does not have a roadworthiness certificate, or has applied, is still getting tested. Now, it can also tell when the validity period of that 30 days has expired. And if it has, you need to explain why you haven't done it, and why, not only why you haven't done it, why your vehicle is still on the road.
But they will still have to stop the car before finding out.
No, I don't necessarily need to stop your car. I give you a ticket instantly.
Before you give me a ticket, you would have stopped my car.
I know what I'm looking for to stop your car. I don't need to stop your car.
So here's the point I'm trying to make. I don't know how your ANPR application works, but you mentioned cameras. That means that my car would have passed through that system before it is detected. Yes. You're not going to chase the car, are you?
No, I'm not going to chase the car.
So the way your men operate as we speak right now is they stop the cars first. In fact, as a matter of fact, the last time I was stopped by a VIO, they asked for my documents. And I was about calling, my guys back at the office, and then I noticed that they found a way to check it. My concern here is, this process of implementing this particular policy. How much contribution will it make to waste of man hours and having to contribute to the traffic situation in Lagos? The way it works before now is that they will stop your car first before they can identify whether you have a certificate or not.
Okay, so now...
Is that going to change? That's the question.
That is going to change. So now, officers are not concentrating on whether you have a roadworthiness certificate or not, or whether it is valid. So that concentration is going to be focused on this vehicle does not have, based on. Before they even stop you, they can tell whether you have or you don't have. And if you don't have, they will stop you, not because you have 30 days, but because you simply don't have, or you haven't applied. Are you getting me?
Okay.
So I'm not stopping you to ask you, show me your roadworthiness certificate. No, I don't need to do that. Okay, so with the new policy, you've applied for roadworthiness certificate. The system is intelligent enough to detect that, okay, this person has applied. You have a 30-day window in which to comply. And if you have complied and passed, it'll still tell me, oh, you've passed. I don't need to stop you. You can go. You know, so for the most part, though, let them don't derail you. What we are looking for from new enforcement is vehicles that have applied for roadworthiness certificate and have failed and have not redressed the failure and continue to drive. They will be put on what is called a blacklist. So we are looking for blacklisted vehicles and obvious unroadworthy vehicles. When I say obvious, I mean the windscreen is cracked, you can see it, the vehicle is just rubbish, you can see it's a visual blunder. The other part, we have a system in place to try to avoid stopping people unnecessarily. It wastes your time, it wastes our time. We have other things that we can be doing. The point is, we will still catch you.
Now, the point I was making earlier was, now I understand your point about the blacklist.
Yes.
Which are those people that should be penalized.
Yes.
But I'm concerned about people who haven't done it at all. Because if you penalize those people, how corrective is that measure? For instance, you know, you're driving a new car, but you don't have the certificate. Shouldn't you advise the driver that get your car tested? If you penalize that guy, I mean, it's more or less punitive, because the person that should be penalized in the real sense is the person on your blacklist.
Okay, I see your point, and let me even dispel the rumor right now, you know, because Lagosians feel that if you have a brand new car, you shouldn't be asked to get a roadworthiness certificate. Well, yes and no. Okay, it falls into two categories. So if your brand new car is a commercial brand new car, and I mean it's registered with a company, you use it for work, you are exempt from that. You will need a roadworthiness certificate because you use it to work. Now, if you're a private citizen and you've just gotten a brand new car, now technically you don't need a roadworthiness certificate, but you need to apply not to need it, okay? Because anyone can come and say, I have a brand new car. So you need to apply for it, and we will give you that exemption and note it for the period of years.
How long does that exemption last?
Okay, it's for a brand spanking new car. It has never 2020. Oh no, we are going to 2022.
Doesn't have to be 2022.
Okay, so like if it is 2022, I'm giving you an example.
Yes.
The law exempts you for 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
So if it's also like let's say 2020, you know, 2 years have gone past. So you still have 3 years left.
Do you pay for this exemption?
Yes, it's a one-time fee you pay for.
You guys just collect money. I mean,
no, it's not. It's
and you say it's not a revenue-making agency.
It's not a revenue.
Why collect money from someone who just bought a brand new car?
It is a processing. They have to process the documentation. It is not automatic.
Okay.
It is not automatic.
How much do you pay for that one? I just want to know, so just in case I get a brand new car, then I can factor in that expenses.
I think it's less than 5,000.
Less than 5,000.
I think it's less than 5,000.
So you're saying now that I'm concerned about how you intend to implement this ticketing process for those who flout the laws. Yeah. Because you know, we've had a situation where, especially in Lagos, people just get tired of what appears to be a duplication of duties. VIO is stopping you, FRSC is stopping you, there's LASMA, there's police. I mean, it gets on your nerves at times that we've seen fracas ensued between motorists and officers trying to do their jobs. So how do you avoid the situation? Bear in mind, 2022, they're going to remove subsidy. Inflation is on the increase. I'm just trying to help you see the challenges ahead of you guys on the street. People are angry. So how do you ensure that this doesn't degenerate into a free-for-all?
Okay, it's a good point. You know, I spoke earlier about some of the investments Mr. Governor has made into vehicle inspection services. For the most part, 80–85% of what we do is now digital. Okay, so we have a lot of the instruments and technology to afford us the viability of doing those things digitally. So part of the new enforcement is part of what you talked about before. We are mainly going to be dealing with blacklisted vehicles for enforcement. We'll let the cameras and the handheld devices do the other things.
Okay.
If you fall foul of the law, I don't necessarily need to stop you to issue you a ticket. It can be done seamlessly. You get a text message saying that you've committed this. We are currently doing that now. But for articulated and all those other now, because of the nature of the kind of accidents that they cause, we will physically stop those ones if we need to. But for the most part, like I said earlier, we will go to the garages and the parks to enforce even before they come out. But you cannot catch everyone. There's going to be one or two that slip through the brackets, and those are the ones that we will physically enforce on the road.
Before we go on the break, I just want us to quickly clarify. A call marshal was quoted some time ago to have said that VIOs are not permitted by law to check driver's licenses and vehicle particulars. Beyond roadworthiness, are there other things that you are permitted to check within the law?
That's a strange one from FRSC, if that was indeed true, because it is the vehicle inspection services that certify whether you can drive or not. So we are allowed by law to enforce driver's license.
So you're asking for driver's license as well?
Yes.
In addition to roadworthiness?
Yes.
What else are you asking for?
Okay, so for commercial vehicles, for all vehicles, they differ. Vehicle inspection services enforce all vehicular activities for the state of Lagos. So your vehicle license, your insurance, because it's mandated by law that the minimum you should have is third party, your roadworthiness certificate. Now for commercial, your hackney permit, your stage carriage if you need one, and all those other documents that are needed.
So even if you get your roadworthiness certificate, there is still more that you must do.
No, for private citizens, it's majorly three.
Okay.
Vehicle license, insurance, and roadworthiness certificate. That's where your contract with the state ends.
All right.
For commercial, you can either have a hackney permit or you can have a stage carriage, and some other documents. I think those are local.
I'm sure viewers are itching to ask you questions, so we're going to open the phone lines when we return from this break. Just to ensure that you make it civil, it's just two gentlemen having a conversation, and it's holiday, right? So I don't want I don't want us to fight this morning. Thank you so much for staying on the show. We'll take a short break and we'll be back with more. Stay with us. Welcome back, everyone. Engineer Akin-George Fashola is the Director of Vehicle Inspection Service in Lagos, and we're talking about the January 1 transport policy that has to do with no test, no roadworthiness certificate. Someone just asked that, what if you get your certificate in Ogun State and you work in Lagos? How does that work?
Okay, so that's a good question. Let's dispel the rumors now. Where you obtain your vehicular documentation, it is determined by where you reside, not where you work. If you live in Ogun State and you collect your documentation in Ogun State, all well and good. Any state will honor it for as long as it is valid. Now, you cannot live in Lagos State and go to Ogun State and go and collect roadworthiness certificate to come and use back in Lagos State. It doesn't work that way.
Okay.
It is the residency in which you reside that determines the validation of the vehicular documentation.
But how do you validate residency as against workplace?
The address where you live.
Okay.
The address where it is. Why state is also investing heavily in the Lagos State residents, the LASRA. It's part of the...
There have been issues of, issuance of fake particulars to unsuspecting motorists. What are you doing to identify syndicates in your organization responsible for this?
Our organization?
Yes. There are allegations in that.
No, that's an allegation. I can guarantee you there's no syndicate in our organization because everything is documented. Now, if as a citizen you choose to engage the services of maybe unknowingly unscrupulous people, that responsibility has to lie with you. Okay, because if you go to any vehicle inspection services, the officers that you are dealing with have a name, a tag. You can always identify them if they should, quote unquote, produce a fake document for you. So I'm not readily to accept that accusation.
Let me read a comment for you here from someone who's been to one of your centers. And I understand that you're a director with the VIS, but I just want us to talk like Nigerians for a bit. This is my second time here. Last week, they said they were not satisfied with the work done on my car. I think compelling us to put our vehicles through test is laudable and good for the people themselves. However, the problem I have is with the roads. If you're forcing motorists to pay for roadworthiness and go for compulsory tests, which they must pass, then you must ensure that the roads are vehicle worthy. Otherwise, there's an imbalance, and it simply means the government is bullying the people.
Well, I share the sentiments. But again, I must reiterate that I mentioned earlier, Mr. Governor is investing heavily in road construction. Yeah, you would agree with me. If we're not fixing this one, we're creating new roads, we are modifying it, we are making it better. So it's a combination effort. You know, if the state is fixing roads, and federal as well, fixing roads, and you are not fixing your car, that imbalance will be even higher. So everybody has to play their own part.
I know of a friend who got a brand new car and in 6 months is already spending close to 500,000 naira fixing the wheels, fixing the hassles. I mean, the roads are bad. That's the truth. I mean,
no doubt.
I see the roads are being fixed, but get into the local governments and then you see what motorists are going through.
I share your empathy on that, and I feel you because I go through some of those roads too. But we are expending a considered effort to get those issues dealt with, and we will deal with them. You can't realistically expect all the roads to be fixed at one time. It'll create a mad, chaotic situation in the state. So you have to do them logically in steps and in priority. The ones that offer the most use for the citizens versus the ones that you need to choose and pick. It's a good point, but you know, we have to do them in stages. We can't close the whole state down.
So you mentioned categorically that there are no syndicates in your organization issuing fake licenses to people. But let's talk about the issue with you know, what the average road user in Nigeria thinks. And what they observe is that several agencies are busy on our roads extorting money from motorists. And the guys are performing the same function of scrutinizing vehicle particulars. And I have had I have had an experience in this regard. I grew up thinking that VIOs don't collect bribes. One day, a VIO officer stopped me. I mean, and it was just a few months ago, maybe 2 or 3 months ago. And, you know, by default, I just reached out for my particulars. And the guy said, "Oh, don't bother about that. It's sunny. Give us something to drink." I was shocked because I thought it was the other guys who do that. And by what do you call it? I was in shock. I wasn't expecting that. I just gave him 500 naira. So I can tell you for free that there are some of your men on the roads extorting motorists.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Why did you give him 500 naira?
I'm telling you. I mean, I'm telling you what I did. It was in shock. It was it was stimulus. It was stimulus.
Why did you give him 500 naira? For what reason?
Well, he said that he needed something to drink, that it was hot.
So? You still haven't answered my question. Why did you give him 500
I was helping one of the officers who was thirsty, who needed something to drink.
You were helping. Are you supposed to help him?
But that's not the point we're making here. I think the point I'm trying to make, for instance, is that in that case, it wasn't even extortion, as it were. But it is proof that the news we're hearing about officers, you know, in agencies like yours, would extort motorists is true.
Okay. Valid point. I'm not going to say yes or no. I wasn't there. But my point is, if you feel that officer was extorting you, the two things I would have expected from you as a responsible citizen. One, absolutely no, I'm not giving you 500 naira. And two, report the officer. No, you make it sound so, No, you expect me to do my job without you reporting.
So what's the system within the VIS to report errand officers?
It's a simple telephone call. This officer, they have a name.
I don't have the number. I'm not sure many Lagosians have that number.
It is on a website.
Okay.
Okay. It is on a website, and even if it is not, you know the physical offices that they are dotted around Lagos State.
We'll talk about if there's a track record in that regard.
Yes.
But let's get to Delta State. We have a caller. Good morning. Good morning. Are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Sorry, I didn't get your name.
My name is Vincent Onyuto.
Please go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah, the question I want to ask is about who does not reside in Lagos.
Okay.
I was in Lagos. My vehicle was registered in Lagos this year, but I've moved permanently to Warri in Delta State now. So what if my roadworthiness expires by July and I renew the roadworthiness here in Delta State and the vehicle number is still bearing my address of Lagos? What will be my own, what will now happen?
All right, let's hear the director
That is if I now come to Lagos anytime from July now, and my vehicle is bearing the address of Magodo in Lagos, but presently I reside in Warri permanently. I renew my paper here and then it takes me to Lagos. What would that happen?
I think we got a question.
Okay, so going back to what I said earlier, if your vehicle documentation is still stating you live in Magodo, then you know the system or the officers are well within their rights to issue you a fine for an expired document or even for a valid one, because you said just now that you will renew your documents in Delta State. That is against the law. If your residency address is showing Magodo, the renewal should be done in the state of residence. It's a simple thing. Just change your residency. I don't live in Lagos State anymore. I live in Delta. Let that reflect on your document. It's just that simple.
So how does it change the residency? Is it just by renewing the certificate and...
So when you come for renewal, state your new address.
Okay.
State your correct telephone number.
Okay, so this payment for the renewal, is it in cash or you pay into a bank account?
No, they have POS machines. If you want to go to the bank, there's that opportunity to go to the bank, but they have POS machines that take card payments or transfers of one of those PINs, text. Yes, officers are not allowed to take cash from you. It's just not allowed.
Well, we're talking about errand officers who allegedly will extort motorists.
Yes.
Is there a mechanism that, you know, for instance, supervises what they do on the roads to ensure that there are no bad eggs, you know, just damaging the image of the organization?
You know, that's a tough ask. You can't monitor everything, but we have systems in place for reporting so we can deal with the issue. It is when citizens choose not to report for various reasons, one of it being, oh, I don't want to be the one that got him sacked, it's not a reason. If you're going to complain about it, you have to report it. That is how we are going to cleanse the system. But if you're just going to keep it to yourself, I don't know about it, and certainly not the provost's office, because that's their duty too. You have to report it. It is reporting it that will give credence to that.
But how do you also gather evidence? Because it's one thing to report, it's another thing to give evidence. But hold that thought. Shego has called in from Ikorodu. Good morning, Shego.
Good morning, my brother.
Good morning.
Yeah, I have a challenge. Somebody bought a new car. A new car is obvious. Register, I'm on the road. and I'm still subjected to come and take exception certificate and paid before I can use my car. Is that not an extension? That is the challenge here. That is what I want to find out. Why should I need to come and take exception certificate before I can use my new car?
The question I want to ask you is that, was that person penalized for not having the exception certificate, or he was instructed to go get one?
No, with what I'm listening.
Okay,
Hello?
I think he was reacting to what we discussed earlier.
Yes, because that a new car need to come and get an exception certificate before you can be exempted from roadworthiness.
I think you made your point very clearly. Thank you so much for your contribution. That's a provision of the law, right?
It is a provision of the law. It is not a VIS law. It is a Lagos state government law.
We have to go through the House of Assembly, Shegun, to have it reviewed.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
You
absolutely.
agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I understand the concern and the frustration, but it is technically the law. You have to, we work within the jurisdiction of the law. If the law says you have to do it, you have to do it.
It is also why our laws have to be realistic. It is why we frustrate the system. It is why people eventually, someone who has a new car, who is having issues on the road will likely just get some money and bribe your officers and then leave. But that's why we have to make these laws a bit more realistic.
Let me shed more light on that. Part of the reasons why those laws are in place, yes, seemingly for a well-to-do or honest citizen, it is no question. It's a brand new car, sir, be on your merry way. But we have a lot of unscrupulous people out there that use different avenues to circumvent the law in order to get things done. It's just what it is.
All right, so let's get back to the phone line to get more contributions on the base. Almost every road official would, quickly. Adeyemi has called in from Delta. Good morning, Adeyemi.
Good morning, Jason.
Good morning.
Contribution is this. The man in your studio there, like as the person I've been in better state as far back as 2011, and my vehicle was registered in he's talking about that when you want to renew the roadworthiness, that you should indicate that you are no longer resident in Lagos State. One of the proof of ownership of that particular vehicle, how are you going to change that particular address?
Proof of what?
Sorry, I didn't get that. Can you say that again?
What I'm saying is this. I said the man is talking about roadworthiness, that when you want to renew, assuming you are no longer reside in Lagos,
Yes.
they must more or less change the address. And I'm not saying that particular the document, roadworthiness is between you renew, which is private car yearly basis. But what of the address in the proof of ownership of the vehicle?
Okay. He's talking about the address and the proof of ownership.
That is not a requirement for a roadworthiness certificate.
Okay.
It is not a requirement for a roadworthiness certificate. The proof of ownership is that you own the vehicle. You are talking about, okay, I used to live in Lagos State. I don't live there anymore. I have moved. It has nothing to do with your proof of ownership. It's still your vehicle. It is a former address. What we are saying is on current vehicular documents, proof of ownership is not something that they look. That means the vehicle belongs to you. Yeah? Vehicle license, insurance, roadworthiness certificate. I don't live in A anymore. I live in B. That is a clear-cut case. That has nothing to do with proof of ownership. That comes into play when you want to sell the vehicle or you want to alter the means in which that vehicle was originally designed for. That is when proof of ownership comes into play.
As we speak now, the roadworthiness certificates last for a period of 6 months?
No, for private citizens,
Okay.
it is 1 year. For commercial activities, it is 6 months.
So, and it remains same even with this new policy?
Yes.
All right. So beyond all of this now, we're looking at a situation where the moment your certificate expires, you are required to take your car for testing and then it is when it is now valid. I mean, when it's valid, they said that your car is certified to drive.
Yeah, when you've passed the test,
then
the minimum safety standard, we will issue you a roadworthiness certificate. If you do not pass, we will tell you what you have failed. You have a 30-day window in which to go and correct those items and come for revalidation.
I just called in from Surulere. Good morning.
Hey, gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
Engineer Akin-George, good morning.
Morning, sir. Morning.
Those have been brilliant responses from you to those questions, honestly. Now, a quick one here. What's the rationale behind issuing the Lagos RWC in lieu of the testing itself? Let me be very specific here. Your vehicle with reg number blah 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 has been issued Lagos RWC in lieu of visit to any LACVIS center for testing before blah blah date as your RWC gets invalidated. I think it should be the other way around. The test before the certificate. You go pass exam before the DU result, if you know what I mean. Then the other thing is this. The guy, trying to figure out the rationale behind exemption. Hey, come on. Both are certificates, okay? The exemption itself, it is a certificate, no doubt. However, I will expect it to be probably at no cost. Probably at no cost. That's exemption. Then what's the relationship between VIS and the MOT test centers? I was expecting there should be a sort of harmonious collabo where the MOT test centers can, double as roadworthy certificate issuing point, if you get what I mean. Thank you.
Thank you for your brilliant observations.
Yeah, those are very good questions. Okay, so the first one, okay, so that in lieu of is what we're getting away from.
That's why this policy is
so
coming.
Come January 1st, there is no in lieu of anything. You have to bring the vehicle. I'm not issuing you anything in lieu of anything. Bring the vehicle. I test it. You pass. I'll issue you. Now,
and then we talked about having exemptions
with no fee.
No cost.
Well, it's a good question. I can take it to the proper authority. I'm not in a position to educate what is free and what is not free, but I can pass on the message in that aspect, and we'll see what comes out of that. Now, in terms of the MOT test centers, now Lagos State government under the Ministry of Transport used to do that previously in the past, and that particular setup did not work out because you had a lot of unscrupulous test centers, individuals that were just not cutting it, which is why the Lagos State government has gone into partnership in producing the Lagos State computerized testing centers, which is under the control of Vehicle Inspection Services. So instead of the MOT centers, we now have the LACVIS centers. But having said that, there might come a time where we can reestablish that connection if the need arises.
All right, so Mazi Okorafo, good morning from Aruchuku in Abia State. I think we lost that call. Try to call us back. Let's talk about the plans. What other challenges do you foresee? I mean, in 2 or 3 days' time, this policy will be enacted. And how often do you also intend to review this decision? Okay,
so the policy that you think is coming on in 2 days' time, we've already been test piloted for 2 months, and I've seen an upsurge of people trying to rush to get their stuff done. What I want to say, or what I've seen, is we have the capacity, but undue duress has come up. VIO is going to seize my vehicle if I don't pass. That is absolutely not true. There is nothing Vehicle Inspection Services wants to do with anybody's vehicle. What we are simply saying is that Mr. A or Mrs. B, your vehicle has this kinds of issues. Please go and fix it. Now, those issues that we are saying your vehicle has is critical to the road usage on our roads because it is a shared asset. Now, your headlight is not pointing in the right direction. You can attest to this. People try to blind you at night. It helps. Those little things. Your trafficator is not working. How do you tell somebody you want to change lanes? Yeah, your wiper is crap. You can't. It's raining. You can't. Your tires are bald. Your shocks are gone.
They pose a lot of danger.
They do.
Let's take a last call from Benin. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning.
We're doing fine.
Yeah.
Please go ahead with the contribution.
My name is Egwando. I'm calling from Benin.
All right.
My name is Egwando. I'm calling from Benin. I just want to chip in one or two advice. I've been listening to the gentleman, and I truly appreciate what Lagos State is trying to do. But you see, this laudable idea can only become effective and efficient if all state VIOs, I repeat, we need a central system. We need a central system because if, for instance, I reside in Benin, or maybe by virtue of transfer, I'm transferred to Benin, my vehicle is registered in Lagos, how do I now renew my vehicle papers? So I will employ him to liaise with other friends. We need a central system where policies and safety procedures about road safeties, when it comes to vehicle, should be same across board. You understand? That is only where we can get this thing more efficient, because commercial vehicles, they are one of the most risky crop of vehicles you can use in Nigeria today.
Thank you so much for your contribution. It's amazing when everyone's talking about decentralization, you're talking about let's centralize it again. But I know you have a national headquarters.
Okay, can I answer that question? Yes. Okay, it's a very good question. And just to inform you, all state chief VIOs meet once a year, where we try to emulate policies that govern each state. Now, this particular computerized testing facility is currently being adopted by a lot of states, but then it has to do with financial capacity to be able to implement. You can't just say you want to do it. You can agree, but if you don't have the financial capacity to implement, it poses problems.
We have to go now. A big thank you, Engineer Akin-George Fashola, Director of Vehicle Inspection Service, Lagos State Government. We are so glad you came to share
Thank you very much
with us, and we look forward to how all of these work out, and compliments of the season to you.
Same to you.
That's our show today. Watch out for tomorrow. It's going to be exciting. Stay with us.